recently made a dress for the first time using the Vogue V9357 pattern, and while cleaning up the scraps, I realized I had just enough fabric left over to make a matching mask. Here's how I did it. I made a mask pattern that I cut out of quilting template plastic. This is my version of the Olsen mask, which became very popular at the start of the pandemic. It's 3 pieces, 1 for the main outer layer and 2 for the lining that creates a small pocket for additional filters. I'm using the quilting cotton left over from my dress project. One of the pieces is cut on the bias, so I'm being sure to line it up against the straight grain line, which I'm checking here. As I start to prepare the pattern, I am realizing I might just have enough to try pattern matching again, remembering to flip the template for each side so I don't relive the trauma of when I messed up the dress back. It still haunts me. I use a washable marker to trace around the pattern. The plastic template is thin but sturdy, which makes it easy to trace. Trying to remember to stay in frame. It's not as easy as it seems. I'm using the first side as a guide to offset the plaid pattern, then placing the template to trace and cut out the second side. Now for the inner lining, I'm using scraps of the black accent cotton and a Bowen chalk pencil. I have 2 layers on top of each other, so I only need to trace each pattern once, and I'll cut out both sides at the same time. And here are the pieces cut out, the outside of the mask and the 2 inner lining pieces that will roughly go together like this. Before assembly, I need to hem the inside edges of the lining pieces. I press a rolled hem in place. I'm left-handed, so it blocks the view a little bit, but you can guess what the iron is doing. Just roll the hem in, secure it with a quick press, and it's ready to sew. But first I need to trim off these overhanging pieces. Some people call these dog ears, which I don't like because, well, ouch. And time to sew. Here I'm securing down the rolled hems of the lining pieces with a straight stitch, and I will try to stop my hands from blocking the view after this. I'm chain piecing these together, which is just sewing them all in a row without cutting the threads. Next is sewing the front of the lining pieces together and the outside mask pieces right sides together down the center seams. I'm using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Then, to help the curved parts of the mask lay smoothly, I am using pinking shears to trim down the center seam allowance on the lining and the outside pieces. And here I remember that these are right-handed pinking shears, so I have to use my right hand and very slowly cut along the seam allowance so I can actually see what I'm doing. If anyone knows where I can find left-handed pinking shears, please leave a comment. They don't seem to exist anywhere, and on behalf of all left-handed people, we need them. To assemble, I am lining up the center of the front and linings right sides together and securing with pins, using the center seam line as the starting point and working my way out, and my hands are blocking the view. Again. Now I just sew all the way around the outside edges. At each corner, I leave the needle down, lift the presser foot, and pivot around to the next side. I actually got this sewing machine during the first summer of the pandemic, specifically to make masks for me and my family. I had always struggled with sewing machines anytime I tried to learn in the past, but now with YouTube and so many wonderful tutorials available, added with the urgency at the time of the mask shortage, I hunkered down, watched about 100 videos, and learned how to put these masks together. Once I get all the way around, I trim off the extra threads, I trim off the corners to make space for flipping the masks inside out and all the edges and poke them out. I even grab a chopstick to help make sure all the edge pieces are poked out all the way, nice and flat, in preparation for the final steps. Off camera, I pressed the seams flat for the next step, which is creating a sleeve for the elastics. I just fold both sides in with enough space to insert an elastic and secure those down with a flat seam and plenty of backstitching. The final step is adding elastic. With this design, you can use any elastic and make ear loops or behind the head, whichever is most comfortable for you. I typically do ear loops, and I'm using elastic that I found on Amazon. You'll also need a safety pin and some scissors. During the pandemic, I actually used t-shirts that I cut into 1-inch strips for the elastic, since that was the easiest thing to source at the time. Here I am cutting 2 pieces of elastic for the ear loops. I am not stretching it, it's just relaxed, and I am cutting them into 8-inch pieces. Then I use the safety pin essentially as a needle to thread the elastic through the sleeve on each side of the mask. And last step, create a square knot to secure the elastic loops. Over, under, over. Then slide those knots to inside the sleeve to create a nice loop, and the mask is finished. Thank you so much for watching. This was a quick and easy project to use up some scraps, and here's how it looks with the matching dress.